So, did the Mandalorian and Grogu movie save Star Wars as a film franchise? Eh, the answer is no, but let's talk about it. It's been 7 years since the last time Star Wars has been released on the big screen, and general consensus of Disney's era of Star Wars movies hasn't been well received. However, Disney Plus has been successful streaming shows like The Mandalorian, demonstrating there is still potential for good storytelling in the Star Wars universe. Then later, the Andor series continued the momentum, and even though Mandalorian season 3 had mixed reviews, and other shows like Acolyte and The Book of Boba didn't help. Regardless, the success of the Mandalorian series greenlit a movie to be released in theaters, with the series director Jon Favreau directing this film, starring Pedro Pascal and Sigourney Weaver, which makes this the first Star Wars movie to be released since Star Wars Rise of Skywalker way back in 2019, with Star Wars Starfighter scheduled for a release on 2027. So, could Mandalorian and Grogu be the turning point for Star Wars movies coming back to the big screen and save Star Wars as a film franchise? Or will it follow the list of bad movies from this brand? Let's find out in this review. But before anything, hey, I hope you're doing all right. I'm Robert, and I like to draw and talk about things like movies, TV shows, cartoons. And here with me is Thialgo. Wait one moment here. Thialgo, Thialgo, like, sub, share. There you are, buddy. My apologies to everyone on the other side of the screen, but with this channel, I have to work with this dog named Thialgo Rhythm. He's a good boy, but it's hard to get his attention sometimes, especially with this being a new channel. The only way he'll work with me is when viewers like yourself find joy in this video and click to like it as well as comment on it. Nowadays, the algorithm seems to be more interested in likes and comments more than usual. So if you enjoy this video after viewing, and like to see more from me, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel and share this video with others, because with this new channel, all I want to do is create content talking about things like movies and draw some art on the subject and make sure the algorithm is happy. Okay, long story short, let's cut to the chase. The Mandalorian Grogu is really kind of boring, to be honest. I hate to admit it, but I was actually starting to yawn once the third act went. Then I was a little confused. Was this the third act? And the irony is that I actually had a good night's sleep before watching this movie. But before I go any further with this breakdown of why I have all these issues with this movie, I at least want to talk about the strengths, because I believe that every movie, there are good moments and bad moments in it. And I at least like to address them before we go any further. For starters, well, at least for me, was that this movie expanded upon a small idea presented from one of the older Star Wars movies, which is this chess game called the Jarek, where we had all these funky little monsters. And they actually introduced those monsters in one of the fight scenes where the Mandalorian had to deal with all of them. And it was fun just seeing them all in action. And this leads to another strength to this film, was how much creature and alien variety there was in the film, and how the Mandalorian interacted with each of these creatures and alien species, and see how he interacts with them. For example, he meets his alien who runs a food vending cart, and his interactions with him was fun. Seeing this alien cooking and making a sandwich for the Mandalorian and Grogu, like, to be honest, the way it was presented, I was starting to get hungry for for it and wanted to get a gyro after watching this movie. The other thing I found really fun with the film was not only the variety of creatures and aliens, but also how they were presented with various techniques. It wasn't just CGI they used to animate these creatures. The special effects team actually used puppetry. And granted, I can't really tell the difference between when they use the CGI effects and when they use the puppetry, but like, this is something I can't put in words. The only way I could describe it is just how they were moving, that you can really feel that these were puppets, especially Grogu. And that's something that I feel is a lost art that I would love to see more of in films. And I had the most fun watching was this character named Embo and his dog, which leads me to one of the things about this film that I felt was a strength, was that Embo is an established character from the Clone Wars cartoon, which is a show I never watched. And I felt that with this movie was so reliant on the Mandalorian series, as well as the established Star Wars franchise, seeing a character who does have some established lore, I didn't feel like I needed to do homework to know who this character is. And because of that, it was just fun seeing this character standing on his own feet and making it feel more accessible to someone like me who's never seen this character, but yet had fun seeing him in action. Okay, now I'll touch on this issue of the Mandalorian movie, expecting me to do homework a little later in this review. But I want to talk about ice cream. I like ice cream, especially eating it after dinner. Like some of my favorite flavors is butter pecan, cookies and cream, and vanilla and peanut butter. But I can't eat ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I definitely can't eat ice cream 3 times a day, 7 days a week. Eating it all the time will become boring, and the taste of it will start to desensitize me. Then eventually I'll start to lose the meaning on why I enjoyed eating ice cream in the first place. And that's the best comparison I can make for this movie as one of his biggest flaws. It keeps moving from moment to a point where I began to yawn once the movie reached its third act. For example, we had a scene where Mando and Grogu get their hands on a two-legged walker. We get a quick moment with it, only to be attacked by three AT-AT walkers. Mando ditches his ride, then quickly takes out all three of these giant robots, full of troopers. Then he touches base with Sigourney Weaver. Then Mando moves on to talk to the Hutt twins for a brief moment. Then we jump to a planet that looks like something from Blade Runner to find a Hutt named Rota. After finding Rota, we then go to some diner for a quick fight scene to meet someone, which leads to some drama in the pit, which leads to a bounty hunt. And all this happens in the first act alone. This movie really feels like an 8 episode season crammed into a 2 hour and 12-minute movie. The story of this movie would have worked more if each moment was given time to flesh out. Like, the movie starts off with Mando taking out bounties, then shifts to the story about finding a Rhoda and dealing with pit fighting, then hunting down a bounty. Then it shifts to a story about Mando getting captured, then moves to a story with Grogu rescuing Mando, and then it turns into a story of Grogu being on his own. And after that's done, then it's about taking down the enemy. And in all of these scenes, the challenges Mando and Grogu face were resolved so quickly and conveniently that I no longer felt any weight to any of these moments. Because of this, the movie felt like a series of 10-minute shorts stitched together and marketed as a feature length film. Other lingering issues I had that bugged me was how the movie couldn't make up their mind on how the Hutts speaking English or their own alien language. I mean, I was okay with one certain Hutt speaking only English, but then there were others who kept switching between both languages, and the reason for why they kept switching between English and their language felt lost to a point where the movie may as well keep them speaking English to make this movie less confusing, because the movie presented another pack of aliens in the middle of the film who mumbled in the beginning, but suddenly they started to speak English clearly due to plot convenience. The other issue I have with this film has to be with Sigourney Weaver's role in the movie. Even though it was cool seeing her in a Rebel flight suit, and as much as I loved her in movies like the Alien series and Avatar, but I felt the character she played in the movie was so insignificant that it could have been assigned to anyone and wouldn't change the impact of the film at all. Ultimately, Sigourney Weaver was in the movie only to get people in the theater. And in the case of this movie, I found that to be deceptive. I look at the marketing of her role the same way I look at how Mark Hamill was presented in this straight to DVD movie called Guyver, where in one of the covers, he was marketed as the main character, but in truth, he was a supporting character. But hey, the reason why he was marketed is because it's Mark Hamill. Okay, so this section of the movie is where I feel a bit torn. So, full transparency. I went out to see this film due to being a Star Wars fan and someone who watched the Mandalorian series. But I also believe if I'm going to go out to the theater and watch a movie, regardless if it's part of a series or a big franchise like Star Wars, as a movie, it should stand on its own. And as much as I enjoy bits like seeing the monsters from a hologram chess game from a movie made in 1977 appear in this one, or continuing my experience from the Mandalorian series, I also feel like the movie relied on nostalgia, like a cheat code or a video game, and expect me to automatically enjoy whatever I see on the screen. I do love the Star Wars franchise and my experience with it, but I will not ignore when a bad product is made, relying on my nostalgia to accept it. And even saying that, I did find entertainment in this movie because of my nostalgia for the franchise. With all these thoughts in mind, my rating for this movie is watch at home. In all honesty, I do like this movie, but I just don't love it. The concept of a masked warrior carrying a bunch of weapons has always been an idea I can get behind. But there are too many flaws in this film that I can't recommend anyone go out to the theater to see it. If you already have a subscription to Disney Plus and are a fan of the Mandalorian series, then you're better off waiting a few months from now and watch it online. So, you watched it all the way to the end. Thank you for checking this video out. I put a lot of work putting this thing together, and I loved every moment. From drawing the art, to the simple animations, the editing, and even watching this medieval film. I had a blast. Your support is important to this new channel, so go ahead and click on that like button. I'm sure that'll make the algorithm happy. I plan to do more with this channel. If you're interested, then subscribe to this channel and click on the bell for notifications so you can be updated on what I have going forward. Also, I have other ratings besides watch at home. Like, woo! Life is beautiful. Worth your time. And why am I punishing myself? If you're interested on my rating system for movies, then click on the video on screen. In any case, take care, find the simple things in life, and be well.